Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Millennial Smark, and I'm bringing you the slop, the whole slop, and nothing but the slop. I guess I can't wait till tomorrow because this is somewhat breaking news. I'm probably late about 2 or 3 hours, at least as far as the developing news is concerned. Shout out to the homie Angelo, not to be confused with our Angelo. Our Angelo is the Hulkamaniac. Angelo is the AEW fan. Don't confuse the two. He ended up posting a comment underneath my recent video as far as the pan comment is concerned, and he asked me to talk about this developing situation with Miranda Alize, or Alize, I still don't know how to pronounce her last name, and Nixon Newell, the former Tegan Knox, in an apparent walkout or a protest because they refused to put over some wrestlers. I think it was Tay Mello, if I'm not mistaken. Here, I'll read you guys what I know so far and what I've gathered as far as information. I'll leave all my links down in the description box below, as always. But and again, this is according to Fightful Select, transcribed by Wrestle Purist. It was stated that Nixon Newell and Miranda Alize, or Alize, I'll just say Miranda, didn't expect to win their match on AEW Collision, but wanted more than the budgeted 3 minutes. They were told times had been set and couldn't be changed. The two left before the show and were replaced with High-End and Maya World, who were thanked for their professionalism. AEW officials were shocked by the situation. So that's what we have so far as the developing out there, people who are most likely corroborating this news, right? And then I seen this tweet from Miranda, and she ended up saying this. She said, "We have so much to say." And then she goes on to, think a couple of tweets of people who support them as far as their decision is concerned. And I wanted to see some of the tweets that she ended up reposting, because her saying we have so much to say, obviously we don't have that information. As of this recording, I haven't seen anything, spoken out in regards to Tegan Knox's position. So all I can go off of, just to kind of gather a consensus and try to get like a guesstimation of what is actually on their mind, she actually did repost some tweets. And here's this guy said, "I, for the love of God, do not understand why they do this. Why the fuck are you making them go up against local competitors, aka jobbers, just for a 4.5 minute squash match?" She reposted that tweet. Here's another tweet that she ended up reposting. Again, this is all just to get a somewhat basic understanding as to what pissed them off, right? This guy said, "Would help if that team hadn't already been squashed last week." And then here's another comment just to give an understanding. "I presume this will be the match against Tegan Knox and her girlfriend, which was meant to happen last week. But yeah, I agree that they can do with some credible wins and not just quick squash matches." So yeah, that's what we're getting from this. So okay, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I can have an understanding of, what I understand so far, until they actually give an official statement, just going off of context here, is I guess they were going to go up against some jobbers. Well, apparently, let's say Tay Mello, because Tay Mello, I wouldn't necessarily classify them as jobbers, right? Were they supposed to go up against Tay Mello and then lose in a squash match after losing the previous week, or were they supposed to go up against jobbers? I don't know, because I'm seeing people state local jobbers, and obviously that tweet that was reposted by Miranda was reposted for a reason. But when I look up this right here through Wrestle Purist, it was stated that Nixon didn't expect to win their match on Collision, but wanted more than a budgeted time. I don't know. I don't understand. Where did the Tay Mello thing come from? Because I swear I seen someone state something along the lines of that they were supposed to go up against Tay Mello and they didn't want to put them over. Let me go look on. I hate looking at Ringside News for corroboration. I just like to look at them whenever something is actually proven, because they're mainly the #1 guys to kind of put out stuff super duper quickly in regards to transcribing other people's information. But here, let me see something real quick. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing right here. According to Fightful Select, sources close to the situation revealed that both women were fine with taking the loss to Tay Mello and Anna Jay, but they were upset about being given just 3 minutes for the match. They apparently asked for more time, but officials told them the timing had already been locked in and couldn't be changed. Okay, so that's a little bit more context that's added to this as well. I'll link them just to be on the safe side too. So it kind of just reads as if they didn't want to do their jobs. But I could have sworn I seen someone say that they weren't signed to the company yet, right? Like they were just doing, like, it was like a per appearance situation, right? Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I obviously didn't want to make a video on something, like that. But while doing some research, when I recently talked about Tegan and her situation, right, like a couple of days ago, I can't remember even what the topic was about, but just in the process of linking and looking up some quotes and some passages, obviously to corroborate with what I was saying about them at the time, I think I passed by someone saying that they were actually doing a per appearance. Like, it was not like they were signed to the company already, right? So I will say that they were more within their means to actually walk out, right? Now, as far as how I feel about the situation, now, again, more context is going to come out in regards to Miranda. She says there's so much more to this, right? So she's obviously going to layer on some more context in regards to this. Now, if you ask me my initial perception when looking at this, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Now, on one hand, I would like to say that AEW is more within their means to look at the situation and not want to have to do any business with them ever again, right? Maybe even go as far as to say that if they have affiliates, I don't know, maybe they want to tell them about what they did. And I don't know, I just look at this and it's like, I feel like on one hand, looking at it from the AEW perspective, you had a job to do. Whether you were contracted to the company or not, you were brought in to do this specific thing and you refused to do it. That's not a good thing. I don't know whether or not someone wants to spin this as far as being an AEW bad situation, or maybe people want to bring up, oh, the AEW fanboys were all A-okay when Naomi and Sasha walked out a couple of years ago in WWE, which obviously Mercedes ended up in AEW when it was all said and done. I'm not here to play tribalistic games. I'm here to be consistent within my principles. I shitted on that at the time, and I'm going to shit on this right now, but there's a bit of a caveat. Like I said, the caveat, and I think the main thing that should be focused on, is that they aren't signed. Now, you were brought in to do a job, and like I said, within AEW's means, if they feel like they want to tell their affiliates not to do business with you, well, I feel like you kind of dug your own grave in regards to that. Now, with that being said, it depends on how you want to define job, right? As previously stated, they're not signed to the company. So it's like, is that technically their job? But then again, they were asked to do something and they were going to get paid for it. So is that considered a job? Do they feel like they have other opportunities elsewhere, and maybe being in that position and protesting that position in the manner as far as how they did it, this is their way to stand up for their beliefs in order to, preserve any kind of integrity, right? Because I guess if you're not signed to the company, I guess there's an argument that can be made. Well, you're not signed. You get to make up your own rules. You get to do whatever you want. But then that brings me to another conundrum, which is, at what cost? At what cost? Like I said, it'd be a lot better once I get the full analysis in regards to what was said. Because I feel like just having this fundamental, foundational argument being presented to us as far as the situation is concerned, and having the takeaway from it being so surface level at the moment without any kind of context, like, who knows, right? I'm only, throwing out stuff. This is not confirmed, obviously. This is just coming out of my own stupid my noodle brain. But I'm just thinking to myself, is there a situation that maybe they felt disrespected in regards to how they were talked to? You never know, right? Maybe there was something that was being promised to them and the promise was broken. You never know. That's the kind of context that I would need to come up with an appropriate conclusion approaching this. Because I feel like right now, this is anybody's ball game as far as whose side you fall on. And I'm not going to fault anybody. One of those rare times where I have to be milquetoast about this. I'm not going to fault anyone if you feel like AEW, you side with them, because you guys are workers, and whether or not you're signed to the company, you're being paid to do a job. But at the same time, for the people who stand with, Miranda and Nixon, and you say to yourself, well, they're not signed to the company, so therefore they get to make their own rules, and how dare you guys on the opposite side get to criticize them for doing this, when for the majority of you were a-okay with Sasha Banks walking out, right? And look at her now in AEW. You guys are playing more tribalism than you are being consistent within your principles. I can see that side of the argument as well, and honestly, I can't fault that side for saying that also. I think it all falls down, or it's all going to be based off of what was actually said, right? Right? And even within that context, it's going to be kind of hard to decipher, because at this point, it's going to be a he said, she said situation, right? We're going to get Miranda's side, and is it going to be deflected by any of the agents that were there who produced the match, who are going to say, no, she took it wrong. She just wanted to, or because from my understanding, looking at all of this, it kind of seems like Miranda was the more outspoken one of the two. Now, I could be wrong about that, but that's just how it comes across. It feels like Miranda was the more outspoken of the two, and Tegan was just more or less supporting her girlfriend, and I'm not stupid, most likely supporting herself as well, because again, she's teaming up with the woman. But I will say this, whether you take this person's side or whether you take this person's side, I think it's safe to say this, not that I'm taking the side of AEW necessarily until I get the fullest context. Unless something was said in a disrespectful tone, or maybe promises were legitimately broken, I do feel like, at the very least, I'm not sure that this was the appropriate way to do business. Right? I think that's the fundamental principle I can be consistent in when actually comparing this, again, to the former Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, when she walked out on WWE in the manner as how she did it. My whole thinking was, you walked out when you decided to do a thing. You walked out being a professional wrestler and knowing what comes with the territory as being a professional wrestler is to do jobs. But damn it, once again, that conundrum, they're not signed to the company. I don't know. Like I said, once we get the descriptive as far as what was being said between both parties, that's where I feel then I can be more conclusive in regards to analyzing this situation. At the moment, I'm 50-50. Maybe a little bit more towards AEW, just based off of the fact that they walked out, and that's unprofessional as hell. But then once again, what's the context surrounding the unprofessional behavior, right? So I guess all I can do is leave it up to you guys, and all we can do is actually wait and hear what both parties are going to say, and then we can take it for what it's worth, and we can discuss it a little bit more in depth. I will hope that they will come out with this information tomorrow. Right now, as of this time, it's 3:30 in the morning. Again, I just got off of work. That's why I'm up right now, about to go to sleep. Well, take a shower, then go to sleep. But hopefully when this information comes out tomorrow, we can properly analyze it and we can take it from there. But I am curious as to how you guys feel about the situation. Do you think, in your opinion, that Miranda and Tegan were more in the right to not want to do the job and, keep their head held high and ruin the bag in the process? Or do you feel like AEW, they could have done a little bit more to present talent in a more, consistent way, right? Do you feel like if they were actually put into a position that was compromising to who they are as characters and wrestlers the previous week, that they should be shown in a more better light, right? Like, as far as I know, as far as what we know so far, all they wanted was more time. That's all we know so far. If that is the case, that they wanted more time and they were okay with jobbing, do you agree with AEW's side that everything was locked in and you just can't break the model of the show just because you want more time? I mean, that can't be done on any other wrestling show, so why would you expect it to be done with AEW on behalf of a tag team match? One of those times, man. One of those times. But we'll follow up. Hopefully tomorrow we get more information. We'll follow up on this. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, my name is Devontae, aka Millennial Smark, and I'll be catching you fine folks later. A deuces and a P. Eyes.